Good morning. My name is Alexios, Raptor Freak, here on a Thursday morning after a really disappointing, sad loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder last night. The Raptors got to realize that every game you got to get to a certain point, do a certain amount of things to make sure you win the game. And we're not doing those things right now, and it's too bad. There's little things we're not doing throughout the game that can ensure a victory for us at the end. And there's a lot of different stuff that could have helped us last night for sure. So yeah, I just want to kind of talk about it quarter by quarter, because it's really kind of how it is with the game last night. It's a tale of four different quarters. The first quarter, the Raptors did a really good job, honestly, at coming out into the game and establishing their offense and playing really well. But, there were signs that there could be some problems. But for the most part, we saw domination by guys like Pascal Siakam and Scotty Barnes, able to do whatever they wanted to, really, down near the around the basket. Scotty, and mid range for Pascal, he was hitting all kinds of different shots that were really impressive. It looked like they could score at will, that they could do whatever they wanted to. And maybe this is part of the strategy of the Thunder is don't try too hard in the beginning and let the team get comfortable at a certain level. And then later on, we turn it on, we clamp it in and really mess their game up. And that's what it seems like they did in the third quarter, because they really messed our offense up. And I don't think it was just a poor effort. I think also that the Thunder really kind of turned it on in that third quarter, because, they held us to 12 points. And that's really bad, like really bad, considering the fact that Scotty and Pascal had established in the first half that they could do whatever they wanted to offensively. So I don't understand why these two guys didn't do more in the third quarter. And what the hell? Like, I know that we have these problems after halftime sometimes at our home court where we come back out flat and then all of a sudden, we have a deficit, because we were up by 10 at halftime. And that's really bad to be down by 13 at the end of that quarter. That means they scored 35 points and we only scored 12 points in the third quarter. And that's huge. That's like, we really lost the third quarter. And then that lost the game, really. Because honestly, in the fourth quarter, we shouldn't have been trying to come back from any kind of deficit. We should have been cruising with a cushion the whole game. But the third quarter messed us up. And then we had to scramble to try and win the game at the end. And we were doing a good job. And it looked like we might be able to pull it off. But it should have never got to that point. It really should never got to that point at all, where we were, having to try and make a shot at the last minute to win the game. And, this is the thing about that shot that Champagnie made at the end of the game. And the old NBA, they probably would have allowed it and allowed the home team to win without all the being able to go back and look at it and split second and stuff like that. That shot, with how close it was, it was kind of like tie goes to home and the team's already celebrating. You don't want to disappoint the home fans who came there. They would have given it to us probably 20 years ago in the NBA. If they had looked at it sight unseen without looking back at the replay and the time and all this kind of stuff, if they were able to just ref it like they used to ref it by sight without looking at stuff, they would have allowed us to win that game last night, the old NBA. But alas, this is why I say we have to have a good cushion. We have to beat the team really good, or the refs will figure out a way to manipulate. Or this wasn't really manipulation, though, because honestly, Champagnie's shot was a 0.10 second, a tenth of a second too late. Like, it really was that close. Just barely still on his hand when the light came on. And if you were looking at the clock, he actually beat the clock. It just didn't beat the light. So it sucks. It sucks. And they were so happy. And everybody in the arena had celebrated like we'd won and everything. And then that wet blanket ref comes on there. And he's like, game's over. game's over. Like, oh my gosh. But like I said, it should have never, ever got to that point. We were the way better team last night. We had different things that we had an advantage over them. And you know what? They used their advantages and they snuck one from us and stole one from us. That was a really deceiving, sneaky way that Oklahoma City won that game. Like their coach, I got more respect for him now last night because I seen what his game plan is. They kind of play like they're dead in the beginning and let the other team do whatever they want against them and kind of get some confidence and feel like they're rolling. And then they turn on their defense and they really start trying to get at you. And that's really what happened, I think, in the third quarter is that we weren't ready at all. And we had a really bad offensive stretch where we couldn't hit anything. And that was awful. Like, I know part of it was the energy of the guys, but also in some ways, I kind of blame you, Nick Nurse, because you didn't get the right combination out there at all in the whole 12 minutes. Sure, you could say the starters came out flat and didn't play very good at the beginning of the third. Sure, you could say the bench guys you brought in the middle of the third didn't give you anything else either. So you basically had a whole dead period where you only scored 12 points and let the other team score 35 points. And there's no defensive effort that is good in that kind of a scenario. So they obviously weren't playing good defense. And you didn't put the right guys out there at the right times. I don't think you did because it seemed like the rotation got messed up in the third. And you couldn't figure out a combination that could do good things for us. You were basically, they were just, cruising and allowing Shea to just do whatever he wanted to. And that really was the guy on their side. Like he was operating. He was controlling the game. He was doing he was getting the tempo in the third quarter. And then Fred tried in the fourth to take over himself and become the man. And he did a good job. And he was on his way. But it was too little too late. And we had to at least have that really good defensive possession with the Muscala three-pointer, but we didn't get that. And then they went up by one, and then it was like, oh man, this is going to be tough. And that's what happened. All right, let's see what Click 2 AM said. Heartbroken. I don't know what to expect with this team anymore. Looks like we're slightly better than last year, but can't win games we're supposed to win. I guess it's time to enjoy the small wins. Yeah. And all goes on to say, like Scotty dropping 18, Pascal playing very well, and Gary Trent Jr. becoming an elite shot creator. Yeah, those were three really good signs, and these were things that happened last night. Like Scotty, he keeps continuing to show me more and more off of his offensive skill book that looks really impressive and amazing. Like the stuff he was doing where he's bulling his way down near the basket, they can't stop that. There were things that Scotty did last night that showed that he's unstoppable. It's just that he needs to believe it and know how to harness it and control it and put his will on the game. And he's going to do that more and more. Now, Pascal was doing that last night. He was putting his will on the game. He had missed a shot for a while. He was like doing really good until the third quarter where he couldn't miss. He missed like one or two shots in the first half, and he was rolling. Like they couldn't guard him. They couldn't do anything to stop Pascal. And this is the thing that mystifies me is why didn't we do more of that in the second half? What happened in the third quarter with Pascal being able to get his shot and make it like that? They did an adjustment. Is that what happened? That the Thunder made an adjustment and then that just went away? Or did he just go away? And what about Scotty? The same thing. Both those guys should have been going and making money shots that we know are high probability of going in like they were in the first half. But we didn't get any of that. And then we had a really poor bench work off the bench in the third. Like Mahalik looked awful last night. I don't know what's going on with him, his confidence or whatever, but he was absolutely looked like a pretender out on the court last night. He didn't look like he belonged out there. He was losing his defender. He was just didn't seem like he had his head in the game at all. And Boucher, I really like that they started Boucher last night. But that hurt our bench because he's actually been coming on and being a part of our bench. And our bench didn't score jack shit last night. I mean, the benches on both teams didn't score a lot, but we were like 14 points for our bench, and they only scored like 19. So they outscored us on our bench technically. But really, we didn't get hardly any production off the bench. We got a little bit from Utah, and, that was really it. I mean, who else was on the bench that did anything worthy? Champagnie, of course, right at the end of the game. Bonga had a three, and did some nice stuff in there also. And it was a really interesting look to see Bonga playing backup center. So basically, it was like Boucher was our first center and Bonga was our backup center last night, which didn't work too horrible. It actually kind of worked in some ways, but then again, it didn't because of the third quarter. Good morning, Sue. Good to see you this morning. I'm having a tough time this morning. This was a tough game to watch in that second half. We should have not lost this game. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They are testing our fandom today. They just came out with no energy in the second. They really did. It's an old curse that the Raptors had back in the day where the third quarter was always really piss poor for us, that we would come back from halftime and not give a good effort. And the other team, we'd have a lead, play really good in the first half, and then we'd squander the lead in the third quarter. And I don't want to see that trend start happening again. It could be that part of the learning curve and the process of developing a new young team is that you have to learn about this and get better at this. But really, there's a couple of different things today that Nick Nurse can talk to the players about why we lost the game last night. And it's really just making sure as a team through the course of the game that you keep a good cushion and that you don't let them come back and do things like they did last night, or dig yourself a hole where you have to come back in the fourth quarter. So I don't know what's going on. I think somebody's car alarm's going off outside. Let's see what else. Great point about Nurse, Lex. He has done this before when he screwed up the rotation and then got angry at the players afterward. I saw his press conference last night, and Nick was pissed off at the players. Yeah, he really was. Let me see his stupid car go by. I don't know. Anyway, somebody's driving around with their car alarm going off. Yeah, I don't know if it's really it's part of the problem with this game last night is that they really were at a disadvantage without having Cam, OG. And when I saw that Precious wasn't going to play mid-afternoon, I was like, oh, this sucks because this kind of takes away our size advantage. And the biggest guy out there was Derek Favors. Now, we could have handled Derek Favors a lot better if Precious had been mirroring with him or playing with him on the court. But he did. He was the highest plus minus on Oklahoma City last night was Favors, the biggest guy out there, 6'9", 265 pounds. And he was a factor in the game physically. And we couldn't do a whole lot with him. In some ways, he was doing some really interesting veteran play where he got like fouls on people. There was that one play where he pushed Pascal into one of our players who was trying to make a layup, and that was the foul. It was a very interesting dynamic that the other team has, that Oklahoma City has on their team right now. Because, Alexander got a lot of foul calls. He got to the line and shot 12 free throws. He made all 12 of them. And he was being just really aggressive. And he was really learning how to beat our defense by kind of going down the middle and snaking through it. And, we can't adjust side to side. If he makes it look like he's going right, and then he actually goes left. And then all of our adjusting on our defense had gone that other way. And then he finds the way. This really brilliant way to beat that kind of defense is doing that kind of stuff, kind of using the players as pylons, but going the other way all of a sudden. But SGA really was the best player last night. Nick Nurse did make a comment after the game about how he was getting a little favoritism from the refs with calls, like touch calls and different things like that, where he did get a lot of calls and get to the line and stuff like that. But, he's a great player. He's really interesting how he controls the game and the different ways he does it. It's really kind of old school in a way, the way he plays in some ways. But, yeah, that was tough. That was a tough one. And Dort had his little moments and his big shots, and they're an interesting combo. But that team isn't really that good at all. Like, honestly, they're beating a lot of teams just like pure heart and hustle and energy. Like, we need to be more like the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's who we're supposed to be like. But we dogged it at a certain point in time, and it was really bad. Because OKC's been they beat the Lakers twice, both times they played them so far this year. And I can see why. Because they're going to outwork and out-hustle anybody they play as much as they can. And we should have that MO, and that should be us. But they did it to us. And I hate that. I hate that our team couldn't sustain the effort. And because we were the better team, we had more talent, we had more dominating kind of players with Pascal and Scotty and Fred, but we didn't execute, and we allowed the door to be open, and they made it, and they got through. It sucks. Click 2 a.m. We need Miles Turner. I hope it's that simple. I mean, hopefully we can figure something out and things can happen. If there's any way to get Karis LeVert, our bench will be much stronger too. LeVert's an interesting player. I don't think he's necessary, obviously, for what we already have, because he's kind of extra what we already have. And he's kind of not as far developed as our guys right now. Like he's very wild, like and young. He's not very honed yet. Like he makes a lot of turnovers, and his shot isn't as good as somebody is like Scotty Barnes. Honestly, I think Scotty Barnes shoots better than him already. So I'm not sure about LeVert, but definitely Miles Turner. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Like I think LeVert will go. Who knows? I don't know what's going to happen with Indiana. I'm not sure what is true and what isn't. What's coming out about what they're saying in Indiana, because last night they won their game. Last night they kicked some ass. Last night. I think it was, who was it? New York or something? Yeah, they beat New York by 20 points last night. So, and that's who we're facing tomorrow, New York. And New York's been on a slide too. So they're kind of similar to us right now. They started really well and they're having trouble now. And this is definitely a must win against New York tomorrow night. We need to beat New York. We need to stop the losing. We need to stop the losing. And Fred's press conference after the game, he looked miserable. He looked pissed. And he should, because him and Pascal both missed 2 free throws last night, and we lost by 1 point. And Fred missed his free throws on technicals. He missed both the technical free throw shots that he got last night, and it pissed me off. When I saw him miss those, I was like, Fred, you're not supposed to miss free throws. And these were important free throws. And Pascal missing 2 free throws didn't help either, and neither did Chris Boucher's 1 missed free throw. Those were all important points in hindsight. And that's why we can't take anything for granted or mess up any opportunity. These opportunities are all extremely important because, first of all, they're not going to put us on the line as much as the other team. So we need to make sure we make it when we do actually get on the line. And we didn't. We shot like what, 60% from the free throw line last night? It was really bad. 67% from the free throw line. That's really bad. We can't do that. We need those free throws. They're free. And Fred missing 2, that's huge. And that's probably why he was so pissed last night, is because he realized he missed 2 free throws last night and they lost by 1 point. All right, let's see. Paul B, that was a sad one. Yeah, it's a sad one, but in a way, it's also something they needed to do. Like these kind of games happen. This game will kind of happen to a team every once in a while where they lose right last second. Although we lost the last second against Cleveland already this season, but this was a different kind of one where you think you have it, you're celebrating. There's all this joy. The whole arena rubs. Justin Champagnie feels good because he's gotten 2 huge plays right at the end of the game. And, that says something about his character, that he rises to the occasion, that when there's high pressure situations, he's doing everything he can to try and win. And I love that. That's a good sign. That's a good positive thing that we saw last night. He's just a split second too late. But we should have never, ever gotten to that point where that was what we had to worry about, was him making a tip in at 0.1. This is the same thing with Scotty against Cleveland. His tip in then was just a second too late. It should never got to that point. It's just too little too late. And we should make sure we win it during the game. Callie, I lost my mind watching all those wide open threes. Defense was awful. Yeah, this is the thing. The Thunder are not a good 3-point shooting team. We made them look great at 3-point shooting last night. And I hate that. We gave them too much in the open look, and they got their percentages up last night because they were actually, these youngsters don't need encouragement or confidence on the Thunder side. We needed to stifle them. We needed to not humiliate them, but make them feel bad. Make them feel like they're messing with a team that's way ahead of them. And we didn't do that. We did not do that. And I hate that because honestly, they're not known for being a 3-point shooting team. And we made them look good last night. And really, that third quarter was a huge part of it. We were shooting pretty good from the 3, but then we couldn't hit anything ourselves. So what a messed up bad quarter. We really got to key in on saying all 48 minutes. We can't have like one really good half, then a shitty third quarter, and then try and come back in the fourth. That's just not, we're not built to do that right now in a way that we can make sure we win at the end. And I hate it. Click 2 a.m. OKC is shit. They don't have direction. All they do is try to spoil teams that are good. They only try against the good teams and then lose the shit teams. they're an energy team. They were out to try and prove some things because they're young. SGA is a real deal kind of superstar. Like, he's going to lead this team to goodness somewhere down the line. Like, he's the early stages of a magnificent career as an all-star and somebody who can really play the game. And I see it in how he was managing the game on the down low last night and making sure he got the free throws, and just the way they came back against Detroit the other night. These are the keys of this kind of thing. And it really is an energy kind of thing, because they're not a very big team. They're not very good overall in some ways, but they have energy, and they out-energied us last night. And I knew that it was going to be the team who played the hardest was going to win last night. And we didn't play the hardest. And that's what Fred said after the game. The best team won last night. The team that was the best last night won, and it was them. And even though it was that close, I'm a fun guy. We've lost to like every trash team. We might just be as trash, bro. Indiana is about to pass us. We're heading for 13th seed, top 3 pick, baby. It's hard to assess exactly what we are and all this kind of stuff. I don't think we're a trash team. I think that we're a really good team that just hasn't figured anything out. It's like everybody's in different stages of different things. Like OKC, for being who they are, they've actually had that core together for a year or so now. So they kind of know each other in different ways that we don't know each other in different ways. So it's time together, time the crew together. And that stat is important. What they were saying last night, that the Raptors without Dragic is the team in the NBA that has the least amount of games played as a collective. It's like our team has played the least amount of games total as a team. So we are the most inexperienced team in the league in some ways, but we aren't when it comes to the playoffs. That's for sure. So it's a really deceiving kind of thing. Like, we're going to lose a lot of games that we should have won this season, throughout this whole season. It's going to happen because this is real learning curve. This is a learning curve for Scotty. This is a learning curve for Fred as being the team leader captain. This is a learning curve for Pascal and his new role of being more important as being the man. And, the learning curve for Kyle and DeMar before was the same. We lost a lot of games like this, games that we shouldn't have lost, games that were close, games that we lost to teams that we shouldn't have lost to. And it's all a part of learning the process again to getting back to a top team that's a consistently going to win team. And we're just got to figure that out. We're really close. We're super close. And the fact that, honestly, it was kind of impressive, the fourth quarter, how we did kind of make a run to come back. And almost really, we should have won the game. If we had just played that one good defensive possession where Muscala got the 3, we would have won the game. But we didn't. We let him open, and they had a good plan. And, we could have won it at the last second. But it just didn't work out. It's just part of it. Woulda, coulda, shoulda kind of thing with the players in their heads after the game. Like, now they got to think about and question what they could have done different and done better. And that motivates them for the next one to realize that they have to put that much more into it to ensure that they get a W. So these are growing pains and these are learning pains, but I don't think we can assess them still because we don't have our full team. We don't have OG, we don't have Kemp, and we didn't have Precious last night. I really want to see us full, no injuries, like full roster on the court all together and see how good we are then. That's what I'm saying. And this is the thing. We sneak into the playoffs in the play-in or one of the lower, like the 6th seed or something like that. We can make noise still if we get our shit together. We just got to figure out how the guys got to get used to each other and realize how much it takes to win. And I think that in some ways we're lazy, in some ways in areas that we don't realize we're lazy in. And that this is where these areas where Fred and Nick and Pascal and leaders on the team need to go around and make sure that these guys are understanding that these areas can't be lazy in anymore. So, man, there's a lot to pick apart here because in some ways I was ready to do a really positive, obviously, reaction to the game last night because the first half was amazing. The first half went really, really well. There were so many good things that happened in the first half. And then this third was awful, was dreadful. And then the fourth, there was a lot of good things that happened in the fourth also. It was just that little bit. We couldn't get there. So it is what it is.
I mean, all right, let's keep going. Marlon Toby, good morning. Fred Van Vliet bricked a lot of shots and missed free throws. Yeah, Fred was missing shots early, but then he started making them in the end when it really counted and we were trying to make it back. But yeah, those missed free throws were uncharacteristic. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, he really needs to be perfect. Like, he can't miss free throws. Him and Pascal can't miss free throws. We need them so bad. And I know that Fred hates himself today for both those free throw misses. And, it really is seeming like Fred's kind of taking time in the first half to get other guys involved, to pass the ball more and not doing like looking for his own shot as much in that point in time. And then in the third, maybe he was trying to find his shot when he saw the team was struggling, but then he was struggling along with them because he wasn't hitting it either. But then he found it in the fourth. It's tough. I don't want to criticize Fred too much. I will criticize him for missing the free throws, but he did a good job really in the fourth of getting us even close to winning this game. Like, if he hadn't hit those threes and Gary hit one too and Pascal hit one too and we were clicking, we were down by 13 and they were the ones that got us back in there. So I have to give them credit for that at least. But it was tough to see him miss the free throws and to miss shots earlier in the game for sure. Golden State Warriors did make the playoffs for 2 seasons. They took those years to retool and develop their youth. Raps have a lot of talent. Once they get it together and fix their depth issues, they will be so good. Yeah, I really believe what G's saying there is that we've got to be patient as fans. We've got to take our lumps in the process of development. We got to understand that they're going to lose games, they're going to win games, they're going to lose games, they're going to win games, but they're probably going to lose a few games right now that we're really like, what the fuck? Why did they lose this game? This sucks. And these are lost opportunities, but this could be an ugly year in some ways. Let's get a lot of this learning out of the way this year. Like last year, I was a lot of bad luck. I wanted to get it all out of the way, but it seems like we still have bad luck this year, especially with the injuries, it seems like right now. But get it all out of the learning out of the way. And who knows, by next year, we could be a lot more well polished and figuring, a lot of these games that could go either way between teams, we're going to win them and make sure we win them. Like, because we know the sting of losing a game like last night, and we don't want that. We don't want that. Let's keep going. Okay. I'm a fun guy. Golden State didn't have a 6-foot guy, and they're spinning open bunnies running their team. Also, I'm thinking. So, he's talking about Fred. Yeah, I mean, they've got Steph Curry. I mean, they're similar players in some ways. I mean, some people will be like, whoa, Steph and Fred are nowhere near each other, but they are in some ways. Steph's way better than Fred. Yes, Steph is one of the all-time greats, but there is a similar role and similar things that they do for their teams. Callie, we need a plan when they take Fred out of the game. Like, for our offensive synergy and how things are going, I'd like to see Scotty take more of a role as a playmaker. Like, why can't Scotty stand at the top of the key? He holds the ball, and he either figures out what he wants to do or he's giving it to somebody, because he's passing so well right now. Like, the passing in the first half was beautiful. Some of the stuff that was going on between him and Gary and Pascal and this way and that way, it's really, really good stuff. And it bodes really, really good for the future. Like, we looked like a superstar team in the first half at times. Like, whether it was between Pascal just making his shot like consistently and shooting it right over them and like just scoring at will, or Scotty just getting the spots wherever he wants on the court, like getting really close to the rim and making really high percentage shots. These are good things for the future. Like, that's the future, that we're going to see more and more of that kind of stuff. And it's just, making sure that the collective has the defensive energy going into the second half. And that third quarter, that was really just killed us, that we couldn't score and they were scoring like crazy too. So what can you do when that starts happening? I mean, geez. All right, let's keep going. Pascal has been playing well, and regardless, Golden State was not good for 2 years fixing their issues. Raps on the same path, in my opinion. Yeah, I think so in some ways. I mean, it's a little different. Their problems were with injuries. I mean, not having Clay and different things like that. They would have been probably still a really good team if Clay had been healthy the last couple of years. They might have been in the playoffs still. That's how much of a difference. But I understand what G's trying to say here, and I agree with him to a degree. Is you got to kind of bottom out and have a bad time in your franchise to spring back up. And in a way, that's way better doing it that way than being kind of middling all the time, just middling, and you're not really going up or down. Like that's kind of what's happening with Indiana. And that's why they're kind of like, we need to blow this up because we're middling. We're not going to be able to go much higher. And we're good, but we're not going to go much higher. Whereas we're like below what we should be doing, but we have the potential to be really, really, really good, like an elite team in the league. I really believe that our personnel and our players right now, with maybe just a center added onto it, we can be an elite team in this league in the next 2 years. And we just need to be patient, take our lumps, and see how this goes. Like last night was a fun game. The outcome sucked, but it was very entertaining. There was a lot of interesting things that happened in the game, and it was fun for the most part. And it sucked. Yes, it sucked. But we can't just look at the end and the outcome in some ways. We have to look at some of the growth and the different things that happened in the first half, and even the run to try and get back in the game at the end of the game. There were some good things that happened during that also. So it's you got to keep a big perspective on the whole thing. There's the game, there's the season, and then there's long term. There's a lot of different levels we got to look at this in. Let's see. Nets lost to Houston and Bulls to the Cavs due to injuries. Any injury this year matters because teams are much better now. This is a really good point by G. There's been so many injuries. Chicago's having a lot of trouble without DeMar right now. Different teams are having struggles, and teams like Houston all of a sudden are turning it on and beating teams they had no business beating. Like, didn't they beat Golden State or something like that? It's insane. Like, that's the real truth of the NBA is any given team can win on any given night. And that you shouldn't pencil in a win against a team like Oklahoma City because this kind of shit can go down on any given night. It doesn't matter what team it is. Brooklyn, it doesn't matter if it's the Lakers, Golden State, Phoenix. These teams can lose to teams that they don't think they could lose to on any given night, teams that they have no business losing to. And that's the key to winning is understanding everything you got to do to win no matter what, and that's playing up for even teams that may be less than you. You can't play down to them because they'll come up and snatch one from you. So you have to play at a high level, high quality all the time, all 48 minutes of the game, every quarter of the game, all the time. And that's what we failed to do last night, the third quarter. All right, let's see. I'm a fun guy. Golden State made the play in last year. The year prior had Curry injured most season. There's context to what happened to the Warriors. They were never as bad realistically as this Raptors team. They were really bad though when right after they lost the championship and they didn't have Clay and they didn't have Durant. He went to Brooklyn all of a sudden. Right after the next year, they were bad, man. I mean, they were having a lot of troubles with injuries, obviously, but they didn't have good personnel either. They made some moves in this period of time to get better. So I don't totally agree with what you're saying. I'm a fun guy because in some way, all right, look, we came off a championship and we're kind of different after our championship, and they came off a championship and they're kind of the same in some ways because they have some of the major key pieces still. They don't have Durant, but they still have their three other main pieces. So yes, in that way that they are different than us. But I don't want you to undervalue who we are right now, just from what you're seeing right now. Because these kind of mistakes and these kind of split-second losses like this, they're part of the way the NBA is, and it's just going to happen from time to time. Now, you want to lessen the chance of this kind of stuff happening, but there was a really good, there's some really good stuff happening with this Raptor team, with their team play, with the assists right now in different ways that really shows an offense is going to be really hard to stop down the road. So I really once again, I'm a fun guy. I want to say, without having everybody healthy, we can't understand really how elite or how good this team could be, because this team could be an elite team in the league, even with who we have right now. It's just we haven't had everybody together. We haven't had everybody together at all. Pascal at the beginning of the season, and since then it's been OG and Kem, who we haven't had. Well, I want to see all our team together against a top team and then see what happens. Because this is the thing. It's like we can't really get a good gauge on who we are right now. And honestly, who we are is a really good team. Just we have to figure it out. And you're right. They're apples to oranges, really, Golden State and us, and what we're doing in our changing from our championship and what they've done since their championships and what they're doing. It really is apples to oranges. But don't discount our team for talent level, because we are going to be really good. We're going to get there. So, all right, G says, so Curry's injury matters, but Rap's missing 3 or 4 players each game. Yeah, this is basically what I'm just saying right now, is what G's saying, is that the injuries really matter. And last year, we did way better than we should have, considering everything that happened, being in Tampa and having everybody get COVID all of a sudden. Honestly, I'm really proud of the team last year and how well they persevered through all the adversity of every single thing they had to deal with last year. They had to deal with something that no other team in the whole league had to deal with. And they held their heads up and they competed and they played really hard and played really well. That's why I have so much respect for guys like Boucher, Yuta, Malachi, and Freddie Gillespie, because these were guys that were in the fire for us when we were really down, and they were really playing their asses off. And we overachieved last year in some ways. We shouldn't have won some of the games that we won last year because of the things we were dealing with. So let's keep going. Marlon Toby, in my opinion, that Champagnie tip-in was good. I believe that too, Marlon. And I think that everybody in the arena last night believed it. Everybody, like I was just saying like 10 minutes ago, in the old NBA, that would have counted. They wouldn't have had they would have the eye test just in the moment, and they would say, well, that's good. And it happened so close to the time. Why not give the home crowd a good feeling? Why not? Because in the old days, you do something like that, the refs are going to have to get out of the building quick. Oh, yeah. And you notice when he came to do the challenge, every single courtside security was coming up real close to all them and making a little bubble around them, because, they knew that they were probably going to give the game to Oklahoma City, and that the crowd could get a little angry. But I'm totally with you, Marlon. I mean, it's not going to be a W for us. It's a W for them. But in my mind, I don't totally look at last night as being a loss. It is what it is. It sucks, but it's a hard loss to painful loss to take and to learn from. And you don't want to have that ever happen again. That's kind of what happens when these kind of things happen. You want to do everything possible to make sure this never, ever happens again. All right. You guys are way ahead, so I'm going to try and catch up. Okay, fun guy. You guys are still talking about the Golden State stuff. I don't want to keep talking about Golden State right now. OG, Birch, and Precious are big losses for many reasons: points, defense, and rim protection. You can't discount this. This is a huge loss. OG Anunoby was maybe our best all-around player like this year. And Kem Birch is our best defensive rebounder and best defensive presence down near the basket. And Precious is an elite up-and-coming talent that's doing all kinds of great things for us already. So it really was we didn't have a center last night. Chris played well to start the game. He was aggressive. He was scoring. He was getting nice, good, close to the basket stuff. He took 1 3. It didn't go, but whatever. But yeah, yeah, you guys are still talking. I'm gonna just go over the Curry stuff. Oklahoma City are now 9-1 their last 10 in Toronto. They always did well against us in Toronto. When they had Durant, they used to kill us in Toronto every time. I went to a few of those games personally when we played Oklahoma City, and I saw the heartbreak firsthand. They're a weird franchise. They have a lot of history. It was so weird seeing Michael Cage calling the game for their broadcast team, because he's a Sonic. He's a guy from Seattle, but he's there in Oklahoma City because that's where the history of that team got transposed from Seattle to Oklahoma City. And technically they have a championship. They have the little sticker on the back of their jerseys that says won, because the Sonics won in the late 70s. And it's a weird team, because Oklahoma City fans really love that team and they're really behind them and they're glad they're there. But it is kind of like a team that's kind of a wasteland in some ways. It's not really a team destination where anybody wants to go play. And there's some real things that kind of go against that franchise. So they're really plucky and they want to win, and their fans are diehard. Let me tell you, the Oklahoma City fans really love the team, and there's a lot of Seattle people that still root for that team in Seattle also. So they're weird, and they have owned us in our building. It's really weird that franchise in particular does really well against us. And it was Durant for many years. That's Durant's part in that record from back in the day. Let's see what else. I'm a fun guy. Oh yeah, he's still talking about. Okay, we're not talking about Curry and Golden State anymore. I wish Gary or Scotty were taking the final shots. Paul B. Yeah, Yeah, like last night, that could have easily been like that. Like, why not? I mean, I understand the shot wasn't that bad. The one, I guess it was Fred that took the last shot, or was it Pascal? I don't even remember, but it was Champagnie who got the rebound. And that was the whole thing. And even Alvin was saying in the broadcast, they got to shoot it with enough time so that somebody can get an offensive rebound and get 2 chances. And they didn't necessarily shoot it with enough time for that, which is too bad because that was the same thing with the Scotty putback against Cleveland. You just shoot that first shot a little bit earlier in the shot clock, and it allows for a second chance shot. And we didn't do that. That's maybe something we need to talk about as a team in practice. It's like, hey, if you get that last second shot, shoot it a little early and see if you can get that, because it's not going to matter if they get the rebound with a little bit of time on the clock, because they're not going to try and go and do something else. They could call timeout and try and get another shot, but that may even actually help us. They'll want to just run the clock out. So shoot it a little earlier. Don't try and shoot it right at the buzzer. Don't make it a buzzer beater. Shoot it with like 2 seconds to go and see what happens. That's what I'm saying, Raptors. Because there was just not enough time, not at all. And those 2 guys are going to get those shots at some point this season. I'm sure Gary's going to get last second shots, and Scotty eventually will also. I don't know why we aren't trying that kind of stuff, because everybody knows we're going to go to Pascal or Fred at the end of the game right now. So it sounds like what Paul's saying is a smart thing to kind of do. It's like, let's diversify who may be taking the last shot. So click 2 a.m. We are the Warriors of last year without Steph, which is equivalent to a lottery team. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. We're different. We're so much different. I don't want to do any more comparisons of those 2 teams, because I really don't feel like we're like them in some ways. That because they have those 3 guys still, they have an advantage and they are better for sure. But I don't think that we're that bad either. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say. Okay, Ursula Reeves. I don't know who that is, and I don't know what you're saying there. That's really interesting. Suns were 15th in 2018. They took time to develop their youth and add vets. Yeah, see, this is the thing. These teams can be really bad and take some time. But honestly, we're just impatient. We want it to happen quickly. We want them to just be good right away. Like, put the ingredients in water and mix, and boom, it's ready. But it's not going to be that way right away for us. In fact, this may be part of it right now. Is like we're kind of doing both. We're going to try and win and develop at the same time. Well, we had to develop a little last night. That's one night we'll win and we'll be consistent and we'll be good, but then another night we'll have to develop. That's what I'm going to call it. When we lose these kind of games, is we're developing. It's a develop. So it's that kind of thing. Let's see. Siakam and Van Vliet are not 21. They're 27, turning 28. Huge differential in situations. I wouldn't say Van Vliet and Siakam and OG aren't a good core, because when they all play well, they are very good on both ends. It's the supporting cast around them. We don't have bench depth. Very detrimental. I don't know. I still don't think we've been able to see our bench depth because of the injuries. Like, even last night, we didn't have no bench because we had to start Boucher. We have 3 guys out. So with the injuries, we can't really gauge how good our bench could actually be. Because if you think about it, we put Kem and OG in the starting lineup. That's taken Chris and Scotty maybe out of the starting lineup and putting them on the bench. And then the bench just gets better all of a sudden, because Precious is back too. So then all of a sudden you have Precious, Scotty, and Chris Boucher off the bench with Mahalik, Yuta, Delano. That's actually a pretty good bench. It's just we're not full strength. We don't know how good our bench is, because you can't really gauge your bench when you have so many injuries. Like, 3 guys is too many to understand your bench. Like, that's what that's how I feel about it. Let's see. But Gary, Barnes, and OG, etc., are 24 and under. Suns got CP, a vet. These guys are still young compared to him. The 2 clocks are different. The one is off his hand. Yeah. Every team's developing in different ways. And in some ways, I really like the way that Masai Ujiri is trying to develop our team and still win and go forward and stuff like that. Some teams just resign themselves, well, we're going to have a losing season and we're just developing. It's okay. But we don't have that mindset. And that's what's tricking us. That's what's tricking me. That's what's messing us up, is that we have this win attitude still. But it's like they don't totally go together, developing and winning. And that's what does not compute in our heads right now, because Masai's trying to do both. And in some ways, he's being successful at doing both. It's just that we have to take our lumps as we go. We can't be like, well, we're a great, perfect team. We're going to win 50 wins this year and all this kind of stuff. No, we got to be like more like, if we get 40 wins this year, that's going to be fantastic. And we're going to do, hopefully make some noise in the playoffs, even if it's just learning. Like if we make the play in, or we get into the bottom of the playoffs and we just give our young guys a taste of the playoffs this year, just a little bit of experience, that'd be really good. And that is something we should shoot for. We do want to make the playoffs. We don't want to miss the playoffs just because we want a lottery pick. That's stupid. We want to make the playoffs and try to win so that these youngsters get a chance to break their cherry on it. I shouldn't have said it that way. Break their seal on being in the playoffs. Like we want Scotty to go to the playoffs his rookie year so that he feels it and understands the difference, because that'll be the quicker learning and development for that kind of level of play if he gets a taste of it. So we really do want to make the playoffs this year. We don't want to miss the playoffs. It's not smart. Let's see. Dort is an unrestricted free agent in 2023. They think they will pursue him. I don't know. I mean, to me, he looks really talented. He's good, but to me, he's an undersized guard. Also, like he's only 6'4". He's not a super huge guy. He doesn't really fit in with what we're doing. I mean, sure, he can ball and he can play really tough and stuff like that, but I don't know if I would necessarily want him, because he kind of seems like he may be kind of a liability in some ways also. Like if we're going to do this positionless thing, he doesn't fit it. He doesn't fit it. So I don't necessarily want Dort, but I would take SGA. Oh yeah. Let's see. I'm a fun guy. Pascal or anyone else got the last opportunity, we probably win. You mean right at the basket? Like I said, we could, woulda, coulda, shoulda the last seconds of the game a couple different ways. Who should have shot it? Who should have this and all this kind of stuff. He should have shot it sooner so the second chance shot has more time to go in. Stuff like that. It is just what it is, and they'll watch it all and they'll see where they messed up today. And, like on that defensive play with Muscala hitting the three, they're going to go over that one and really show the guys where they messed up with that and stuff. And, Scotty is messing up on defense in certain plays in certain places. Like in the third, he was really bad in some ways on the defensive end. But that's one of the things we got to figure out with the rookies, is really getting them really like zoned in and like really working the whole 48 minutes, or at least while they're out there. So Pascal gets his $135 million contract, and he's basically our best player with OG out. Why is he standing in the corner? Scotty was guarded, but Gary was open. Yeah, Gary should have seemed like he should have taken that shot last night. I mean, listen, Pascal's playing at a really high level. He's doing really well. It's just like I've said before, I think that he's kind of a good scorer, but he may not be that go-to clutch guy in a way. Like he's kind of the second banana. Like he'd be really good scorer alongside Scotty being more like the man and trying to score at the end of the game himself. Like I want to see Scotty take more responsibility for trying to win the game for us in crucial times. Like, sure, he can get blocks during the game. He can make big shots. He can do dunks, do different things. But I want to see you really take over the game, Scotty, in a way where you make a difference in the game like Justin did last night. Like, I want you to be more like Justin. Be a big baller in a big baller moment and really take advantage of something of your size and your speed and different skills in the moment, because you can get us the promised land, Scotty. I really believe in you because you have all the tools. You have the ability. And you have the ability to see what is the best in that moment. And that's why I want to see the ball in your hand at the end of the game. Although, some people will say, well, then it may be too much pressure. And then if he fails, it could hurt his how he feels in the game and stuff like that. Maybe that's part of the reason why they're holding him out from doing that kind of responsibility. But I'd like him to naturally come and take it, because obviously Justin's ready to come out there and do that kind of shit and take it. And, I want Scotty to take more control. That's really what I want to see. It'd be awesome. Svi and Banton were 0 for 10. Got to get those guys going. Yeah, they were both really bad. Like oh, man, it's tough. Like we need our shooters to hit their open shots. Yuta is pretty good. He hits one of them, but he misses another. Chris Boucher's not hitting them. All of a sudden, if Gary isn't hitting his shot, and then it's like, who do we have consistently hitting his shot? Maybe Fred. Pascal could. We miss OG. We miss OG in this kind of department because honestly, OG would help so much with a lot of this stuff we're talking about right now. Champagnie may have earned some time. He was able to help with Shy a lot and managed to score too. Yeah, that's actually something I want to talk about is Champagnie's defensive work on SGA at the end of the game was phenomenal. And he was a big reason why we were able to come back and even get close to winning that game is because he shut down SGA in the fourth quarter. And nobody was having good luck with him in the second half. He was just eating us up in different ways and different places. But Champagnie kept up with him, and he did a really good job containing him. And that was something I noted even when they were making that run there. I was like, wow, Justin's really guarding Shea really well. And that's true. He's going to get more minutes. He may even get time just as a stopper. Like, we need you to come out there and just mess up this one guy who's killing us right now or something like that. But he's definitely going to get more consideration to get into the game and maybe even into clutch situations because he's showing that he has a will in those moments to try and do whatever it was. Because, like, honestly, that first basket he made to the one, he caught it from way back. It was going to go past him, but he made sure he caught it. And then he made sure he made the shot by making some crazy athletic up in the air, twisting kind of like lay in. And that was really impressive because that was his will. Because honestly, he could have easily lost that pass and he could have easily missed that shot, but that was all his will. He was like, I'm going to catch this and I'm going to put this back. And it was the same thing on the last play. It's just that 1/10 of a second too late. Oh, and it looked like it went in before the clock ran out with the 0.1 on the buzzer, but it was the light. The light came on before it left his hands. And that was the whole thing that they said. And that's why. So, oh my gosh. I'm a fun guy. We have no tall, speedy guards. Jalen Harris was refreshing. Yeah, maybe that's part of what, why we put Champagnie on Shea is because he was able to do that. And that's interesting because Champagnie is kind of a forward, but he can guards, it looks like, because it's really just energy effort. And he did a good job in that. The third was absolutely horrible. The third was the worst. Can we get DeLon Wright back? Wow. Yeah, DeLon. I don't know what he's done like in his career recently. I haven't seen him much. I know that he was developing really well. Is he in Detroit? Wasn't he in Detroit or did he get traded from Detroit? He was in Detroit with Casey. I don't know. But yeah, he's the kind of player that might have really helped against Shea last night, for sure. Seeing the bright spot in the game, Champagnie got on the court and showed under pressure he can play. If they were winning, may not have had this opportunity. Well, if players had been not dogging it and not playing so crappy, that's why he went to him. He said, I'm sick of all these guys looking like they're dogging it. I'm going to get somebody out there that we know will try really hard and do his best. And that's why he put Champagnie out there. And it was a good opportunity for him to show that he can shine. He did. He did shine. He didn't get his moment. We got robbed of that great moment. But, the first shot before that was huge right there. That would have been enough to say, wow, Champagnie's really good at the end of the game. But then that last almost winning the game shot, that was huge even too. But alas, it is what it is. We can't let the refs decide things for us. We have to decide the game and the outcome for ourselves by getting a good lead and executing and not letting a team like Oklahoma City come back and do something like that because we were cruising. We were controlling the game. I loved the game in the first half. It looked like we could control it. We were just pawing with the mouse and we were the cat. And that mouse grew real big in the third quarter and messed us up, like chewed the cat's tail off. And it was just, it's tough. It's tough. It's all you can do is say, this sucks. We lost. It is what it is and move on. Because now we got New York tomorrow. This will be an interesting game because New York's been struggling too, and something's got to give. And we want to get better at our home court. And like I said, I want to get 7 wins so we get to 1,000. And so, we're at 993 franchise wins. And we get 7 more wins, the Raptors will have 1,000 wins as a franchise. And, I want to see that happen sometime in the next 2 months. And we can't keep losing. Tonight, 9:05 are playing the Maine Celtics at 7 o'clock. You can watch it on the G League website live at the time when it's on. I'm sure that our guys will be there. You want to watch some Delano Banton, Malachi Flynn, Isaac Bonga, Justin Champagnie. Those guys should all be there playing tonight. So it's just a tough. This just sucks. It is what it is. We take this loss, we hate it, and we move on. But let's not make any rash decisions. Like, I've been saying, oh, they're a championship. They could still win the championship team. They're a top team. I can't say that anymore. And nobody should be saying we're an awful team either. Nobody should be saying that we're worse or this or this or this, because we can't. It's like we need more information. We need more time. And it looks like a lot of the pieces do work really well together. Like there were concerns about Siakam and Barnes coexisting. I don't think there are anymore. So, and I've seen OG play really well also with all those guys also. So I'm not worried about them coexisting or all playing well together, because the vibe on the team is really good. And the teammates and things like that are really good. But they just need to get that work excellence up to a certain point and have a certain mentality about winning that they just lack right now. They need to get this winning mentality, this thing that Kyle Lowry used to carry the mantle for us. And Fred's trying to carry it now, and he's having mixed results with success and failure. And, last night, half second, 0.1 second more, it's a totally different thing what we're talking about today and how we feel about it. It's just how it is. I would have hated to be at the game last night because I saw the disappointment on everybody's faces in the crowd, and they just looked like, oh man. But it was the right call. The refs didn't make the wrong call. It just sucks that it had to get to that point, and that's how the game had to end. We should have done more to ensure that it didn't get to that point. And it should have happened in the third quarter, and we should have never gotten that far behind. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go. Yeah, thanks, fun guy. It's a long-term thing. We got to really think about this as a long-term thing. And I don't even mean like long-term, like 5 years. I mean like in the next 2 years still, because I feel like we can be a top 10, top 5 team in this league in a year from now. It's just we got to get our shit together and figure it all out and have time together. And we're just not getting the time together, partly because of injuries. And just, they're so new together. This is the thing. All these other teams in the league have players that have played together for like 3 years, 4 years, 2 years, things like that. But, we have a few players that are like that. But for the most part, we have a lot of guys that are just played with each other for 20 games. And that's something we still need to keep in perspective when we're analyzing and judging this team. We need time to gel and get everybody on the same page together. Okay, guys, let's go. Let's beat the Knicks on Friday tonight. G League, if you want to watch the Celtics versus the 905. And, it is what it is. At least some Canadian guys beat us again. If we're going to keep getting beaten in our own house by people, at least they're Canadian guys that are doing it to us. And, honestly, I don't understand why the in-game ops keep honoring Canada basketball guys, and they show them. They're like Dylan Brooks and, Brandon Clark, Team Canada. They did that with Dort and Shea last night. And, they show them, and they're just in the huddle. They don't care. They're not looking up there or anything like that. They don't want anything to do with our kudos to them and stuff like that. They're all business. And that's how we should be too. All business. Oh, yeah. G says within 2 years, no doubt. I believe it too. All right, let's go, Raptors. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Thanks for watching me this morning. Every morning, sometime between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern time, I will be here doing a live stream every single morning. It doesn't matter. We lost by 1 point at a 0.1 seconds on bullshit, but I'll still come in. We'll talk about it. Hopefully, we'll have something really good to talk about Saturday morning after a win over the New York Knicks. All right, tomorrow preview. Friday morning preview for the Knicks game on Friday night. All right, have a great Thursday, everybody. All the best. Yes, sir. Woo!